Tonight, coach has got a fantastic guest. SaQuan Hicks is the defensive coordinator at Benjamin Franklin High School in Baltimore, Maryland. He is fired up, buddy. I tell you what, he has a,
Sure.
a 23 defense that he is super excited about. And listen to these stats. Last year, Benjamin Franklin was the worst defense in the state of Maryland. They gave up 44.7 points per game. This year, under Coach Hicks's leadership, they're giving up 16.1 points per game, one of the biggest turnarounds in state history. And Coach, I know you're excited. I'm excited to hear about it. So tell us a little bit about you, and then teach us your defense, and I'll be quiet and listen and learn.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So my name is SaQuan Hicks. I'm the defensive coordinator and the head strength and conditioning coach at Ben Franklin High School in Baltimore, Maryland. I I live in right now I live in York, Pennsylvania, but I commute down. I was commuting this past season down to Maryland because that's just where I got an opportunity at pretty much. This past season, 2023, the 2023 season, I had two jobs for the most part. I was the defensive backs coach and the head recruiter and like a academic advisor up at Thaddeus Stevens College. Pretty much the whole entire off season, all the way up till about July. And I started back college. I went back to college in about, let me say, about May. So, coaching college ball and in college, the schedule kind of got a little hectic. At one point, we had 3 days. So it wasn't, and it was like 7 days in a row. And I knew I wasn't going to be able to do that and still keep up with my college studies, plus my family and all of that, all of my stuff at home. So I ended up pretty much just resigning, and I ended up getting the opportunity to coach at Central York High School out here in York, Pennsylvania. And I got the chance to go on to be the safeties coach and the assistant defensive backs coach. And we had a really good season. Central York is pretty much the best team in this area that I live in. So it was a great opportunity. I got to learn from the best head coach, the best defensive coordinator, and just pretty much just learn how to be a better overall football coach. So when the season ended this past season, when the season ended, I ended up applying around. I knew that I've been a DB coach for a while, but at the varsity level, but at the youth level, I was I was a head coach, offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, a whole nine. So I pretty much just knew I had it in my bag. And in regards to the 23 defense, it was just a defense that I've been working on the past few years, pretty much where I was just trying to create something innovative and just try to create something where I didn't get caught in situations where I wouldn't have a conflict player, or I could adjust to pretty much every single formation without changing my base. Pretty much, I wanted to make the defense. I wanted to make the offense adjust to me instead of letting the offense make me adjust to them. So with that being said, I knew I had something going with the 23 defense, and I started applying around. A few years back, the light went off in my head to tell me maybe you're going to get your first defensive coordinator chance if you go home to Maryland. So I applied around at Maryland, and Coach Frank Brown at Benjamin Franklin High School gave me a call. He liked my resume, and he brought me in for an interview. It went well. I ended up a few months later getting the job, ended up being the head strength and conditioning coach as well. And then pretty much from there, I just knew it was time to start implementing things, coach. Um, I'm the type of coach where before I even went to the interview, I already had broke down film on the players, on who could play what position. I already started scoping out the top teams in the standings and what type of offense they run, and just to have a pretty much so I could hit the ground running going into the interview. So pretty much it went well. I ended up getting the job. And from there, we started with the weights in the weight room. I just pretty much just had them on my strength and conditioning program, just pretty much just focusing on hypertrophy for the most part, and just pretty much they did really well. They grew. We got a lot quicker. We got a lot bigger. They grew in size. Then from there, coach, it came to install. So I started putting in my 23 defense. So I'll start with pretty much where my love for defensive play calling came from, and just defensive side of the ball.
How what kind of offenses are you seeing most? Are you mainly seeing spread? Are you seeing power looks, wing T? What do you see up there?
I'm seeing a lot of power looks, coach, a lot of 31, 32 personnel. Um, most teams pretty much run a little bit of everything. It's more like the heavy teams, the 31, 32 personnel teams. I would say they're 80% of that. And then they got their 20% where they'll like to spread it out. They go spread, they go empty, they go trips. And then the other, I'm gonna say that's out of 10 teams, I would say that's about 7 of them coach. And then the other 3 are spread teams where they pretty much in 10 personnel, empty trips. And then they got their moments where they'll come out and unbalance, do some 32 personnel just to try to keep you on your toes.
Well, I'm excited, man. Teach us how to run the 2-3.
Yes, sir. So in a nutshell, we pretty much a 23 defense is a I like to call it a 2 high, a 4 safety defense. So let's start on the top end since I got my start as a defensive back coach. Let's start on the top end, coach. I like 2 free safeties high, have 2 strong safeties in the apex. My 2 free safeties, one is called a free safety, one is called a star. And my 2 strong safeties, one is called a strong safety and one is called a rover. And of course, the rover R, he's the one on the right. So with that being said, I have 3 down linemen coach. I got a nose guard that's head up, the zero technique. I got 2 defensive ends that's in the 4 technique. Then I have 2 linebackers. I have a Mike linebacker. He's really that dude, that guy. Then I have a Jack linebacker that's pretty much close to that guy. He's not as good as the Mike, but he's probably a little more athletic, but the Mike reads better. So pretty much from there, if we break it down, we talking about alignments and assignment and my base defense coach. I'm a man guy. So my base defense, we always starting at 2 high. And we like to, I'll give my props to Nick Saban, my favorite defensive coach of all time. We are a cover 1 invert in base. So we have a rip and Liz call. So based off the strength, the run strength, of course, the tight end make the run strength, or if it's trips, or if it's 10 personnel, then the side that the running back is on will make the run strength depending on the play call. But if we just talking about base, then it would be opposite. The running back would be the strength in our base call. So starting with the D lineman, I like the 2 gap. That's what I learned from Bill Belichick. I like to 2 gap my defensive lineman. So my nose guard is responsible for both A gaps, and my defensive ends are responsible for the B gaps and the C gaps. And my 2 linebackers, they're free hitters, coach. They get to roam, they get to do their thing, fly around, create havoc. And my 2 apex players, my strong safeties, it depends on the alignment. So we talking about 21 personnel. When I do install, coach, I install it to 21 personnel first, just so everybody could get an idea of pretty much every component of the defense. And if when when the strong safety is doing a certain job, the rover's doing the opposite, and 21 personnel pretty much, so they kind of get a feel for both of the jobs they would have to be doing. So if we talking about 20 versus 21 personnel, coach, we'd be in the 2 high. If the running back was on the right, on the defense's right, well, on the offense's right, on the defensive left, we'd call the Liz call pretty much. On the QB's cadence, we'll be in the 2 high. On the QB's cadence, the safeties will rotate down. So the Liz, the free safety is on the left side. The free safety will rotate down, and the star will rotate over the top, pretty much about 15 yards. Single high, cover 1 invert rules, and he'll come down on outside leverage on the tight end. The 2 apex players, we talk about the one on the left, the strong safety. He's blitzing from the apex. Pretty much, he balls out. He's to the wall. He's disrupting the backfield. He don't have any responsibility except for outside force player and our base call. And the same thing for the rover on the other side. So I got 2 strong safeties coming off the edges, full tilt with my 2 linebackers, pretty much free hitters, a safety coming down in the box, safety over the top, corners playing man to man. And we pretty much get after everything pretty much out of base. If I ever get caught in a situation where it's a run heavy team where they're trying to punch us in the mouth. Now, I will say this, I'm glad you asked me that question earlier, so I can kind of get more into that now. Most teams, especially when they come out 31 to 32 personnel, coach, they look at the box, and I just gave you pretty much the image of it. So they trying to run it down our throat. They're trying to go A gap heavy, B gap heavy. So when I notice that, or if I get a tendency from watching film, then I have a built-in call where I like my blitz is a triple A gap blitz. Just pretty much something that I learned from the Mike Zimmers, the Jim Johnsons. I just added to it. Just did my research with it, just dug into it a little deeper, and I came up with a triple A gap blitz that pretty much take away the A gaps and the B gaps. So to explain that triple A gap blitz, coach, let's go with those same alignments we was talking about. Let's say it was 21 personnel. My nose guard, he would shoot to the A gap opposite the strength. And pretty much both linebackers are shooting through the A gaps. And they coming through in a way where it's going to be clean. So one to come through head up, the other one to come through in the spot pretty much exactly where the nose guard replaced. He's filling the place where the nose guard just left pretty much. So we pretty much got three guys flying through the A gap, and I have my defensive ends shooting the B gaps immediately. Even though they head up, they shooting the B gaps, and then I still got my apex players coming down, and then a strong safety still coming down to the strong side, whether it's rip or legs, depending on it. So we are extremely heavy. We're extremely blitz heavy in that situation. We're going to pretty much just be aggressive. And to be honest, coach, most times I call my triple A gap blitz is pretty much a tackle for a loss. Normally, if they trying to run up the middle, it normally works out for us unless somebody just get blown off the ball or we make mistakes somewhere. It's normally a great play for us, coach. To keep it going even further, I have.
Do you have any film on that triple A gap blitz?
Yes, sir. I will send it over to you. Yes, sir. I will send it. I have a bunch of it. I have a few on YouTube, and then I'll send you over some personal ones for you as well. But
Okay.
it's the thing of beauty, coach, is my favorite play. I call it sniper. So the players love it. They understand one of my biggest growths this year as a defensive coordinator was situational play calling. So I really dove into situational play calling, especially when I was really getting to the ins and out of the install portion of the 23 defense this year. So I'll go to the next part and then I'll come back to situational defense. Another thing I like to do in coverage is I like to play cover two man under. So let's say it's a passing situation, coach. Let's say it's third and 8 or long. I'm expecting to pass. And they 10 times out of 10, they're probably gonna throw the ball unless they got the best running back in the country. So in that situation, coach, I'll keep my two high safeties over the top. So instead of there's no rip and legs call when I pretty much call the defense. We can call it a prevent defense for now. When I call it prevent defense, it's pretty much there's no rip and legs call. The safeties, both safeties still over the top, they drop high. My two linebackers that we talk about in the middle, the Mike pretty much drops short middle. He drops short middle, and he's a QB spy pretty much for the most part. He's looking for crosses, and I'm sorry, coach. He's a short middle guy in the QB spy, and my jack linebacker always comes down and covers the fifth eligible receiver. So if it's a running back, he got the running back. If it's empty, then he goes to the trip side, and we cover with leverage. So if we in our base cover one invert, I'll slide defensive backs, the strong safeties, when they're in coverage, or when a free safety inverts down in the coverage, they cover with outside leverage. They use outside leverage because it's going to be a linebacker helping short middle. It's going to be a free safety and immediate deep middle. So we pretty much just pretty much funneling them and making them go the way we want to go. Now corners are used outside leverage depending on how far they are from the safety. So if the receivers are in tight splits, then the corners are playing with outside leverage. The receivers is in wide splits, then the corners know they got to play with inside leverage. But back to cover two man under. I love that defense because pretty much my D line is two gapping. I love that defense. I love those situations because especially this situation, it forces QBs to do two things is going to happen. He's either going to scramble right into my Mike linebacker, like we talked about. He's a dog. He's going to make that play, or he's going to throw it up in double coverage. And that's what I want. My safeties are pretty good. That's why they're back there. And if they make that play on us in double coverage, then I just got to give them their props. We just got to keep moving and not let them make that play no more. But I like our chances in those situations, to be honest, coach. So I'm back to briefly to situational play calling. I just go off it's mostly built off of tendency, what I see off of film, but even deeper is down the distance. If I feel like they trying to run it up the middle, smash it up the middle, then I'll call it triple A gap blitz. And the players pretty much understand how I am as far as situational play calling. Base works. I tell the players this: base works well against everything. Sorry, coach. Back with you. So I tell my players this: base works well against everything. Our triple A gap blitz works better than base against short middle of short runs, inside runs. They're trying to run up the middle, and let's call it prevent for now. Our prevent works better in obvious passing situations. So we just get at them like that, and it worked extremely well for us this season, coach. On third downs, we held teams to, I believe, 15 15 out of 59, so about 25, I think it was about 25.6% on third downs for the season. So it worked out well. And shoot, I was just happy about it. Just extremely happy about third down and fourth down reduction.
Can talk a little bit about how you teach your two gaps to your D line.
Yes, sir. So when it comes to two gap, and I pretty much just I go about it two ways, but the main way I go about teaching the coaches, I teach them the bull rush. I teach them to be aggressive and to bull rush. The first, I try to give my players visuals. So the first visual that I give them, coach, is most of my defensive linemen are offensive linemen anyway. So I give them the visual where, look, listen, I pull a quarterback over there too, and I'd be like, listen, if let's say coach call a running play, the offensive coordinator call a running play, and your offensive linemen get pushed in the backfield, they get bull rushed. Is that going to be a successful run play or not? They all going to agree with me instantly. It's going to be a bad run play. So then from there, they kind of understand me. I teach them the bull rush instantly. My first technique is the bull rush, and then from there, bull rush, lock out, get your eyes to the play, see what's going on, disengage, go make the play. Now, if I have a special player, like I had a nose guard this year I had a big nose guard. He was about 6'6", 255, 260, and he was pretty agile. Like he played basketball. So he was the kind of kid where at nose guard, he could win through the left A gap and then he could transition. Let's say they ran through the right A gap, he could transition and still make the play through the right A gap. So once I had kids that could understand it like that and had the ability to do it like that, then I started teaching that technique as well.
So your base technique on two gap is just flat back it and bull rush them, try to knock them into the backfield, and then find the ball and shed them and get to it.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So they're not going to be, it's like I teach them to read and react. So they will not be the first ones there unless the ball carrier just immediately just straight comes to their gap. They'll normally be cleaned up. Linebackers normally get there first, pretty much for the most part. It's normally a linebacker there, unless it's a situation where they have to. Unless it's a situation where my defensive ends have to shoot the B gap. So to give you an example, we are two gapping. Let's talk exclusively about the defensive ends right now. Let's say it's 21 personnel on the side that. Let's come away from 21 personnel for a second. Let's say 10 personnel, right? We was talking about 10 personnel. Let's say the running back is on the defense's right. Then it would be ripped. That means the free safety on the right is going to invert down on the cadence. That means the strong safety on the right is blitzing. And the free safety that's inverted down is going to cover that slot receiver so that the strong safety can blitz, right? So with that being said, the defensive end, he's a two gap guy, but since it's a strong safety blitzing and the C gap off his right side, then he doesn't have the two gap. He can immediately shoot the B gap because there's no point in me wasting them and making them responsible for two gaps when already got one coming hot through the C. I could just send them hot through the B and just collapse everything in the backfield immediately.
So, all right. So on part two, you're gonna have your video put together so we can run through this thing visually and see it, and you can coach us up like we're your JV team, right?
Yes, sir.
And then we'll talk about your coach two package you're putting together. But I mean, I know it was just a conversation today, but it sounds exciting, man. It makes perfect sense. Sounds simple, which is I'm always about make it good, make it simple. So it sounds exciting. And when we do part two, we'll see all the video presentation on it, and then we'll talk about how you're going to package it together for your coach too.
Yes, sir. I'm looking forward to it.
All right, buddy. Well, I appreciate you coming on, and I appreciate your enthusiasm about coaching up some defense, and I can't wait to see part two and sharing all the video.
Yes, sir. I super, super appreciate you, coach. And I look forward to it, and I'll see you very soon.
Thank you, buddy.